Hey there and welcome back to Richmond Woodworks. So today I have finally pulled my finger out, I've stopped procrastinating, and I'm going to focus on the dust collecting in this workshop. I have two really decent dust collectors. One's a shop vac and one's your traditional dust collector, which you've probably seen in some of the videos where I have it just directly hooked up to my table saw, and I tend to unplug it and plug it into some of the other machines around as well. Now that means that the pipe is laid out on the floor. I don't tend to trip over it, but it's always in the back of my mind that I will, especially while I'm probably carrying something precarious or super heavy, and I just probably will hurt myself. Hopefully on video, and that will be funny. Anyway, the miter saw station behind me, I have a little Festool shop vac which I just plug into the back of it. That seems to work quite well, and I've used that a few times, but I really want to go the full whole hog and do the ducting throughout the entire workshop. And for me, as you've probably already picked up, I'm all about the aesthetics of the workshop, because I really wanted it to be a place where I just want to hang out and not have to think about, I need to do that job and this job, I wish I did that better, and all that kind of stuff. But what you see, and what I've seen in other videos as well, is the ducting work. It's fully functional and it works perfectly fine, but for me personally, it's just not super aesthetically pleasing on the eye. So I've been trying to rack my brain about what I can do to make it a little bit nicer. And what I was hoping to do while I was laying the slab was run some of the pipe work within or at least under the slab, but that really required me to have a lot more foresight than I actually had. Anyway, so what I'm going here is a Camvac. I don't know if you want to call it a shop vac. It's not, it's a dust collector or dust extractor. It's like a hybrid of the two. And I first got onto this from Dennis on Hooked on Wood, so thank you for releasing that video. And these things are typically, they have massive range, and I encourage you to have a look at whatever suits your workshop. But they have like a 1, a 2, and then a 3 motor version, and each motor is about 1,000 watts each. I opted for the 2 motor version in this specific instance, just because it has a much smaller footprint and still has enough, probably more than enough power than I'll need. But famous last words, I'll probably upgrade a little bit later on. This is a 2,000 watt version with 240 volt, and it works over your standard 240 volt plug here in Australia. There's nothing fancy you need to do, just works in a 10 amp circuit. But when I was building the workshop, I specifically got a 15 amp circuit in that corner just behind me to the left, just in case I wanted to buy that 3,000 watt version in the future, and it saves running a whole bunch of new electrical cable. So that's future proofed. Anyway, let's talk through this thing. So what it does, it comes with a big bag which you put inside the big drum, and this is the medium size. It's a 2,000 watt medium size. You can get a larger one, but medium is all I need, because I also have the Dust Deputy, and ideally this would be half the size, and I think it'd be perfect just to have a really small footprint, but they don't make it like that. And then you get these little baskets, which I'll show you how they work in a sec. You get some little covers for those baskets, as well as a couple of paper bags as well. And the idea is, between these two and this, there's going to be enough filtration to take it down. I think it's to about 0.5 microns, which is more than enough for your generic and actually any kind of hobbyist like myself woodworking shop. I don't know, probably in a big industrial shop you probably want something a little bit bigger and better and all those other things, but then you're paying a pretty premium for that too. But anyway, so what it has is these 2 motors you can see underneath, and they're both 1,000 watt each. And what you do to assemble it, put them on these little baskets. You put on one of these little bags, kind of look like a shower cap, and then you put on one of these paper bags over the top. They come with these big rubber bands. Done. Then you do the second one, and you put the big bag in the big drum, put it together, and you're good to go. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So let's have a look. So on that same video from Hooked on Wood, Dennis found a online store which tends to sell ready-made hookup to these things, hookup to these motors that replaces these bags with some of these. And I contacted the manufacturer, who's based in the US, now about $250 US, which is quite reasonable for the ingenuity that they've come up with. And it came with the filters and everything's ready to go. However, what really frustrated me was that the postage was going to be about $85. And I realized, you know, you have to pay for everything, but in my mind, it was really difficult for me to pay $85 US just to get something out here. So my next thought was, I got a 3D printer. So what I did, I found online, surely someone solved this problem before, and yes, they have. Plans you could buy, I think it was for $4.50, bundled with my 3D printer to make these little baskets to which these filters attach. Simple as that. And the idea is you put a little pipe clamp or hose clamp here, and that's essentially it. And I just need to find a nut and bolt to kind of make sure this thing doesn't fly off. And the idea is you have two of those to filter the dust instead of these bags, which probably work pretty fine. My additional thought is, would this actually increase the performance of it? And I suspect yes, but let's give it a shot and do it pseudo-scientifically with an anemometer. And this thing just measures wind speed. I bought it off Amazon for $30. It just came today in the mail, so I was pretty happy about to create this video and doing some scientific tests. So what we're going to be doing, I'll put the bag version on, I'll assemble it all together, I'll measure the wind speed of one motor and then two motors, and then take everything apart, put these things on, and then measure the wind speed between one motor and two motors with just these on, and see if there's any difference. And if there is, that's probably good. If there's not, then no harm, no foul. It's easier to clean these things than it is these bags anyway. So there we go. So let's get to assembling. Right, fully assembled. It's pretty easy. Anyone can do it, to be honest. It took 10 seconds. It also comes with this hose and a little attachment which you can just plug in and screw in. It also comes with these little hats or dust extractor hats or whatever they're called. And these things go over the top here on these little exhaust ports, and the idea is that they're meant to limit the amount of noise. All I find is that they don't really do much, and they just fly off all the time, so it's pretty funny. Now, so I'll leave these off. But first things first, what we want to do is turn on one motor, measure the wind speed, and mark that down. .66 meters per second. Cool. Now let's do it with two motors on. Now, aside from almost getting pulled in, this thing was 24.34, so that's not bad. Right, next test is going to be disassembling it, putting those pleated filters in and seeing how that goes. Quite excited about this next one. Let's give that a shot. All right, aside from being covered in a little bit of dust, let's give this a shot. I'm quite excited. So let's do one motor. And that's 11.27. Now let's do two motors. and that's 25.9, so a little bit more than before. I think that's pretty good. And all I did was 3D print some stuff and buy a $20 or $30 couple of pleated filters from Bunnings or from Amazon. So, right, I think I know what I'm going to do now. Get rid of this. And there you have it. It's as simple as that to upgrade your dust collector, specifically the Camvac. And I encourage you to have a look at your own shop vacs or anything like that, see if there's anything you can do on those ones. If you do want to purchase a Camvac, I highly recommend it. I haven't had an opportunity to really look at it in depth and through a long time of use, so I hope to do a bit more of an in-depth review a little bit later on. But in my opinion, it's just strange that such a high quality, and it's not too cheap for that dust extractor, only came with those little mesh bags and paper bags. And in my opinion, I think just a straight upgrade to those pleated filters as a factory option or just as a base, I think would just elevate the system that much more better. Going back through the footage, I actually realized that I covered the little gap between the anemometer and the inlet, which actually, and just from the sound, you could hear it actually increasing in speed. And I think that maybe fluctuated the results a little bit just on that first test where the bags were inside. So I'm going to do a quick test again, and I'll cut to that now, and then we'll close it out. Alrighty, so I've got the bags in, so now let's give that little bit of a test again. So this is going to be with one motor. So it's 10.51, not bad. Now let's do it with two. $19.86. I don't know if you can see that or not. There you go. So it's not bad. So now let's try with the filters again and see where we are. Okie dokie, we have the pleated filters in. Let's try it with one motor. $11.41, so it's a little bit better. Now let's try it with two motors. $24.7, so that's substantially better, which is really cool. Anyway, so again, now I did the test appropriately and I didn't cover my hand like this. I think we can all agree that doing what probably would cost in total, minus the 3D printer, it would be maybe a $40, maybe $50 upgrade if you do it at home, or a couple $100 if you buy it online, which is fine as well, because it's really good tech and it's a great idea. And again, I think it should come as a standard with these things. So that's that. And there you have it. I think it's pretty conclusive that the pleated filters are a much better upgrades, because you do get that little bit of extra performance out of that dust extractor. And in my opinion, it should just come like that out of the factory. But anyway, that's the end of this one. So stick around for the next episode, where I hope to upgrade some of the cabinetry around for that dust extractor to come in, and then I'm going to do some of the ducting work, and finally have access to the back of my miter saw, as well as a table saw and some of the other components around the workshop. So stick around, like and subscribe and all those good things. And also don't forget to leave a comment. I genuinely really enjoy responding to each and every single one of the comments and interacting with you all. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.